So for the first question, I'm going to say when it came to the airplane scene, uh, Delphine from the beginning had always felt like really responsible for her younger sisters, and is kind of taking on the burden of being their caretaker because their mother wasn't really around and abandoned them. And so when she and her sisters had the opportunity to go and visit um, their mother, she wasn't too, excited about it or anything like that because she still holds this kind of resentment towards her mom for abandoning them. Um, as for what the adults had expected from them at the airport, um, Big Ma expected for them to, be well behaved, listen to, whoever is in charge, not to make any trouble or anything because she just wants them to come home safe. As back then, as a black person, like, in the airport, these kids just unattended and don't have an adult with them, it's kind of dangerous for them to be out, and like, if they're on their own and they're misbehaving and stuff, who's going to help them, who's going to be around for them. So Big Ma was able to, like, ask someone to look out for them and everything while they were there. But Delphine took on that kind of role while Big Ma wasn't there with them. When they got to their mother's apartment, their mom really didn't expect anything from them. She didn't even want them in the first place. She was busy being a Black Panther, doing everything that she needed to do, like making flyers and other things like that. And she just wanted them to be out of her hair and just be like, just out of sight, out of mind. So had them go to this Black Panther Center. And at the center, they were able to learn how to, like, basically they were able to, well, what they were taught there was to understand what it means to be a Black person. You know what I mean? Like, understanding the culture, what they should do and what they shouldn't do, learning how to speak up for themselves and protect themselves as a whole, if that makes sense. For the second question, I'm going to first start with Cassius Clay and Muhammad Ali. With that, you can see how, with Ali's transformation, he's able to find his identity by rejecting the name that he was given and by the slave owners, and reclaiming the name that was that he chose, by staying true to his African heritage and understanding who he is. With Idlewild versus JFK, sorry if you see me looking down. It's because I'm trying to summarize what I wrote, so the video won't be too long. Okay, so with Idlewild versus JFK, you're able to see how Idlewild represents the Black community's historical connection to the place that they found refuge in and cultural significances. And then with JFK, you see how it symbolizes a mostly predominantly white culture. These two names reflect how these characters in the book struggle with their identity and stuff because they've been called not Black enough. They've been seen as different because, for example, like with, I believe it was Fern who was holding the white baby doll, she was being made fun of, and Vanetta didn't do anything because, she didn't want that attention being taken away from her. And speaking of Fern, with the way the teacher Makumbu had given her a new name, she was able to really go from being just a little girl, seen as a little girl, to being someone who is like, uniquely her own, and finding who she is as a person, and not just like, as a little girl, as a little sister. With Colored versus Black, Colored is more seen as segregation, blacks versus whites, and kind of just like, the overall historical oppression of what they're going through and everything. And then with Black, you see this as like a culture, as a community, as African American people. It shows a lot of self-empowerment. With the third, not third, but like the fifth part, the Cecily, Mother, and Nazila name, with Cecily, you can see how she doesn't really like, take to that name. Like she basically like, just rejects it and everything. And then with Mother, it's supposed to represent like, her maternal role and like what she's supposed to be to these young girls, but she's not truly like, just a mom. She's a Black Panther. She's a fighter of like, of justice. And with Nazila, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly, she's able to understand and connect more with her African roots and who she truly is on the inside, and understands what she represents, not just for herself but for her community as well. And then I want to go back to the first question just really, really quickly, and just try and summarize it like the best way that I can. I just want to say that with the experience that they had come into at the beginning of the book with the airport, the mom's apartment, the camp and everything, they are expected to, evolve to the world around them, understand who they are and what they represent, and just find out how they fit into this whole world together, if that makes sense. These